Ladies and gentlemen, we are now live. Once again, in the building, the amazing, the one and only award winning entertainment red carpet journalist, Tanisha Laverne Grant. I am so excited to have her back on a conversation with Floyd Marshall Jr., and I am your humble host because we had such an amazing conversation the first time around. And if you haven't listened to that podcast interview, I would highly recommend it, especially if this is a business that you want to get into, because Tanisha dropped some amazing gems in the first podcast interview. But I had so many questions that I did not even get to the first go round. So when we were done the first podcast, I said, you have definitely got to come back because I had about 3-4 pages of questions that, so I condensed them down into, about, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 cards worth. That's all.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right.
So I condensed it down, but again, I'm so happy to have Miss Tanisha Laverne Grant back on a conversation with Floyd Marshall Jr. So Tanisha, welcome back. How are you? How's life?
Thank you. Thank you. It is a joy to be back. Thank you so much for having me. We did have a good time last time. We had a good time, and I think my computer was acting up, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we are about to crash. And so I'm all plugged in today.
Okay.
Making sure that we're not having any of that.
Okay, because the last time it was you were plugged into a bad outlet, I think it was.
Yeah, a dead outlet.
Okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't nothing but the enemy. That wasn't nothing but the enemy trying to keep us from doing what we're doing, but that's okay.
But we are here today.
Absolutely. So you were saying that you're getting ready for the new award season. So what has that been like?
This lipstick.
No, go ahead.
Ladies, you know. Getting ready for award season. So last night or the night before, I just did my application to cover the Oscars. So that's one application down. I have some more applications to put in today. The deadlines are closing in like this week, so generally every year the sites open. When I say sites, I mean the websites for the actual activations, like the Academy for Television Arts and Science, the Emmys, the Grammys. So they all have a press portal in their site where journalists can go and apply for press credentials. Excuse me. Oh, gosh. Well, that was embarrassing. Oh, my sinuses are so bad.
That's okay. We're live. This is live, ladies and gentlemen. So it's all good.
God. I'm going to have to get some Kleenex. 1 second, guys.
Oh, take your time. See, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you are actually live. It's in real time. So anything can happen, but I'm glad that you're here. So we're going to wait for Tanisha to get her tissue, and then she's going to come back and we're going to do a deep dive into what's going on.
Like maybe I need to turn the air off. Woo! So I'll be sneezing, it seems like this do this interview.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Very delicate sinus system there.
It's going to make for some interesting clips.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not at all. Sorry, guys.
It is what it is. This is real Hollywood. So you were saying about the portals opening up?
Yeah, so every year, journalists apply through a press portal. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times you have to get yourself registered, get your outlet registered. And then that way you'll be receiving updates throughout the years. And closer to the Oscars, you get a media alert that says, hey, apply. Y'all, I'm in the shits. Bear with me. Keep going, Floyd. We'll get through it.
No, I'm actually fine. Are you okay? Are you good?
I'll be all right.
Okay.
I'll be all right.
Yeah. But with that, and you know what, that actually leads to my first question with you having to get ready and applying and everything, because you're freelance. So, even though you work the red carpet, can you explain to people what freelance means and what that entails?
So I don't freelance as much as people think I do.
Oh, okay.
So when it comes to applying, so this is what sets me apart from a lot of other journalists. So I own my own brand and outlet.
Okay.
Or I should say I own my own brand and my content. So I have a negotiated partnership with a particular outlet, and I credential in under that outlet, but I own the content. So I am the managing editor, I am the producer, I am all of the things. So when I credential in on behalf of the outlet, that is how I apply. So when you're freelancing, you need the permission from the editor. So when you're freelancing, somebody applies on your behalf, right? So I'm not freelancing any of the red carpets that I am working on or that I've been on in the past. I credential in under the outlet that I have a negotiated partnership with. So I am applying on my own behalf as the owner, as the broadcast entrepreneur, the sole owner of my content. So that is how it works for me. So let's just say, for example, Floyd, you wanted to credential in to cover the Oscars or the Emmys or the Golden Globes or the Grammys. You would credential in under the name of your podcast. Self-titled podcast. You would outline, what your goals are for your coverage, your reach, and the Academy or whoever was on the other end would decide whether or not they wanted to invite you to cover the activation. And that is a part of the changing, I don't want to say changing of the guard, but that is what the advent of all these new technologies have made way for, is ownership, for people to own their own outlets and not having to rely on the big boy networks to get access, because not all of us are going to have the opportunities to work for those networks. So where do we go? What do we do? What does that mean for our career, for our dreams and the things we want to do in the entertainment business? So if you're not working for Good Morning America or an ABC, vertical, or NBC vertical, or CBS vertical, or, any of the other big name publications, and what does that mean for you? And so when I came back to journalism over a decade ago, I was having a hard time finding a job. So I said, all right, well, I need to find an outlet that I could plug into that would allow me to own all of my content. I would source my own ad dollars, my own sponsorships. I just need their name to get me into these red carpets. And so that's what I did. So everybody's walk is different, but, freelancing means that I now have to depend on an editor of another publication to see my work as like worthy to credential me in. I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing that. I am not jockeying for position with other folks in the newsroom, with other folks on an editorial team, a writing team, to get into the rooms where I feel like I belong and where I can get in on my own. Now, I may not have the big fanfare, right? I may not have the big fanfare because I'm not with, the big mainstream outlets that people, love and adore, and they have the big numbers, right? They have the big numbers because they're mainstream outlets, but there are so many other success stories, and you have Jason Lee from Hollywood Unlocked that he built from the ground up. who has fought to get in some of these rooms. So for those of us who don't work for some of the big mainstream outlets, we have had to build our own, and plug into like blog spots and other, emerging websites that would be interested in our content. So that is what sets me apart. Not only am I a journalist, but I'm a broadcast entrepreneur by owning every single interview that I have curated on a red carpet.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. And I had no idea that I could actually credential in. I'm sure there are, steps to it, but I had no idea that I could do that as a podcaster. That is something very interesting.
Yeah. Now there is no guarantee,
right,
that you're going to get in, but anybody with an outlet, right? And so what happens is they do research and development on the outlet. Like they verify the numbers. They want to see your other works, so when, for example, when I applied last night, this is probably my 10th year or 11th year.
It's your 11th year.
Yeah, 11th year, right. Thank you. You saw my post. So yeah, I have my previous year's coverage, but they also want to see that you've been covering throughout the year. So they will ask you for your most recent articles, and they have to be within the last 90 days. Right? So you have to have a body of work moving and working on your behalf. Everything is about social media numbers now. And I mean, they will see you in real time. They follow you. They see you. They see me. So when my application comes in, I mean, I've been doing this for over a decade now in Hollywood. So they know exactly who I am. They know my work. They know what I'm capable of. And it's just a matter of them seeing value in what it is that I'm doing in this particular moment to say, okay, you're cleared or you're not cleared. And it's challenging to get into these rooms. I just had a conversation with the publicist earlier today about Essence Black Women in Hollywood. I've only covered it one time. I was declined for about 5 to 7 consecutive years before I finally got cleared to cover it in 2023, I think, or maybe 2022. But yeah, there's a lot of gatekeeping. There is a lot of deliberate gatekeeping that sometimes doesn't have anything to do with your analytics. And that's a whole nother story.
Wow. So let's talk really quickly about red carpet protocol and the do's and the don'ts when you're on the red carpet as an interviewer and as an interviewee, because I'm sure you've seen it all in 11 years.
Yeah. So the first thing I would say to anyone who wants to cover the red carpet is really nurture your relationships with the publicist and turn your work in, right? If you're covering the carpet and you're doing the interviews, turn your work in within those first 24 to 48 hours. And they ask you that on the application. What are your plans for coverage? What are your coverage plans? Stick to those coverage plans. Turn your work in. In terms of in-person red carpet protocol, get there as early as you can, to do all of your social media, your drops, your hellos, your thank yous. When I get to the carpet, I identify the publicist who brought me into the fold. I say, thank you, I'm here. They check me in. When I leave, when the carpet is over, I thank them again for having me, and to look out for my deliverables, like within the next day or so. I try very hard to ally with other journalists who are there. We're a small community. We all know each other. If there's an unfamiliar face, I speak. Sometimes there were some journalists who are covering with the bigger outlets who think they're too good to speak to the rest of us. I speak anyway. I keep speaking to them until they speak back. Right? Like, you see me. Hi. We're all in this together. You know, I mean, the way that they're doing it now is sometimes they'll have a quote smaller outlet like myself sandwiched between like Entertainment Tonight and Access Hollywood. That way my outlet could get the interviews, right? Because people are definitely going to stop for Access and Entertainment Tonight. So they'll put like an outlet like myself, like Black in America, or like the Grape Juice, or some smaller outlet. That way we can get, the same access to talent. Because in the previous years, sometimes talent went and walked down the entire press line, and outlets like myself, who were smaller, they would put us at the end, which is pretty challenging. So one of the big things that I really try to do is not challenge my mark, right? And that is, if I come to the carpet and I'm way at the end, most of the time I challenge that. I'm like, can we move my placard up some? And it's really disheartening when there's an activation, when there's an activation and there's a lot of Black talent to be interviewed, but all the Black journalists and all the Black outlets are at the end, which is crazy to me. So you want to assert, but you never want to be rude. You just want to ask a very pointed question. Is there a possibility that my placard can be moved up a little bit further? And sometimes they'll say in the presser, in the media notes, like, no moving of placements, because they know some of us will definitely advocate for ourselves and say, this is remarkably unfair. You have all this Black talent here, and all the Black journalists are on the end. And it's hard, because what happens too is you have a lot of Black talent that don't necessarily want to interview with Black outlets. They've made it and they want the big mainstream. And it's unfortunate because, it's been said ad nauseum how Black journalists with Black outlets, we build you.
Right.
When no one was interviewing you, we were, and now you're with, a big PR firm. You got the blockbuster showstopper. You're walking the red carpet, and now you don't even want to come down.
And you know what's interesting about that? I saw something years ago with Mark Wahlberg with the paparazzi, because they were talking about the paparazzi. And when he was first starting out, he was always in their face. Like, hey, hi, take a picture of me. I'm here. But then, as you said, when you get bigger, now all of a sudden, the same people that were your go-tos, now all of a sudden, they're your has-beens. And you're sitting here saying, well, 10 years ago, you were calling me on the phone, asking me to put you on. And I get it. As you get bigger, you definitely want the bigger outlets, but you should always, in my humble opinion, take care of the people that took care of you. Because, no, please.
Here's the thing. So what has been happening is now the pubs are sprinkling in those journalists from smaller outlets in between the big ones.
Right.
Because that's the only way you're going to get equity. That's the only way. Move us up. Put us in. Because while we may not have the reach as a mainstream outlet, some of us are growing our own individual brands on social media. And now we're seeing the age of the influencer, right? Where the influencer who has 1 million followers, but no journalism background, no journalism degree, never been in a newsroom, doesn't know how to curate story, doesn't know who Lawrence Fishburne is, and could care less. But now they're getting the same level of access to these red carpets. So it's about the numbers. What do the numbers say? What do your numbers say? Nobody. I don't even think people would really even care about this story that much anymore. I mean, some of the headlines are just so vapid and superficial. It's just like, where do we go from here? Has the bottom completely fallen out?
Right. Right. So
So,
I want to talk to you about something you mentioned in one of your posts about the lack of support from other people in the industry, whether it's talent or other journalists. So how do you navigate that?
um, if you are deliberate in not supporting my work, I am deliberate in not supporting you back. I had a call with the publicist who wanted to discuss why I declined her pitch to interview someone from Essence magazine, to be transparent. So over the course of my career, I've been able to get access to the Academy Awards, the Golden Globes, NAACP Image Awards, studio premieres, big tentpole film festivals, and Essence Black Women in Hollywood. I've only been able to get on one time. My application would get declined and declined and declined year after year. So each activation is what we call them here in Hollywood. Each activation has an assigned publicist or several PR persons helping to obtain press to cover. Now, Essence Black Woman in Hollywood for years had the Chamber Group as their PR firm. And when they were with the Chamber Group, I would apply to the Chamber Group and could not get cleared. In 2022 or 2023, I forget who the PR firm was, but the PR firm actually cleared me to cover. And that was the first time that I was able to cover Essence Black Woman in Hollywood. And last year, I attended a screening for their docuseries. I think it was called like 50 Years of Essence or something like that. Caroline Wenga, who's the CEO or CFO of Essence Magazine, was there. All of her, writers and VPs, like everybody was there. And there was an opportunity for audience members to get up and speak. And so I got up, I spoke, I expressed my thoughts about how I am, a multi-award winning entertainment correspondent, journalist here in Hollywood. And if it weren't for mainstream activations, I would not have a career. And it's really sad and unfortunate that a brand like Essence was not able to participate in amplifying my voice and contributions, because this brand has categorically denied my credential for the past decade. And so afterwards, Caroline Wenga was, she said to me in front of everybody in the room, make sure we get her information. Make sure she's in touch. Caroline Wenga's mother even pulled me aside, was just like, I applaud you, for speaking up and speaking out. So, the editors were there. I got everybody's email, followed up, no reply. No reply. Earlier this year, I was told through a PR firm called Allied, and what the name Ally is, they advocate for smaller outlets to get into these rooms. And so Allied said, it looks pretty good for you to get on Essence Black Woman in Hollywood this year. We are working with you. We are rooting for you. We are advocating for you. It looks pretty good for you. So when I applied, my credential application was declined. Right? It was declined. So now we're on this big email thread, and there was a young woman, I can't think of her name right now, and otherwise I would say it, but she emailed me back. She's a part of the communications team from Essence. And she says, hey, your application came back and it said that you were covering for Instagram. Now, what a blow. What an insult. What an insult. I've been filling out press applications for over a decade. I would never in a million years say that I was covering on behalf of Instagram, on behalf of my social media platform. And then she says, fill out the application again. Right? Now, that's some bullshit, because if you were really advocating for me, you know the history of my work. If you really wanted me there, you would have been like, oh my God, this is an oversight. We will definitely make sure you're on the carpet. Not send me back into the press portal, which by all accounts was closed. So to circle back, a couple days ago, I got a pitch from a publicist who wanted me to interview one of the team members from Essence, and I declined. I declined.
And I can see why. Because you know what? It's an issue of respect. It's an issue of respect. And let's be honest, that was some hard shade thrown, because it takes you 2 seconds to type in a name. She could have typed in your name. She's like, oh, this looks interesting. Who is this? Tanisha Laverne Grant. And everything pops up. Everything pops up. So really, Instagram. When, again, all you had to do was type in a name.
Well, you're insulting me saying that I don't know how to fill out a press application.
Right. And, so that was deliberate. And it's unfortunate that oftentimes, I don't know where that comes from, where oftentimes it's us doing it to us.
Yep.
Which boggles my mind with everything that has gone on, and especially with what's going on now. I truly hope that with everything that took place earlier this month, that we as a people will see that we are truly the only thing that we have, and that we need to really, really begin to band together, because I think we saw unequivocally, that right now we're all we got. So it's absolutely amazing. And that kind of leads me to a question, again, something you shared about you having been in this for 11 years, and you've interviewed a lot of Black actors, but for some reason they're not sharing those interviews with other outlets. So can you talk about that? Because I was very, very curious as to why do you think that is?
Well, because my outlet isn't ABC. It's not NBC. It's not a success destination benchmark for them. Right? So it's all about the call letters. It's not even about an attack on me personally. It is business. I get it. But when we talk about collective work and responsibility, when we talk about supporting each other, amplifying Black voices, it's all very selective. If I'm a Black journalist on Good Morning America, but you're not going to get on Good Morning America right now. Not yet. You're not talking with Robin Roberts right now. You're not talking with Gayle King right now. You're not. You're talking with me, Tanisha Laverne Grant, on a syndicated digital platform, Black in America. Now, we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what the future holds, which is why it's so good to, respect and support men and women, whatever their profession is, at every career level, and at every outlet. Because my work is my work. It's not that my work is less than, it's about opportunity. And so Black people, many of us still believe that white ice is colder.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And what's interesting about that, as with anything, there are levels and there are steps. And you don't build a house in a day. Yeah. So I would think with social media, the way social media is, that they would share as much as they can to build an audience. Because as you said earlier, it's all about the numbers. So if they're sharing your interviews and more people are watching your interviews, doesn't that drive up their numbers? So then maybe a Good Morning America will say, well, wow, they're getting a lot of buzz. Who is that? Maybe that's someone we should talk to. I'm just curious as to why more of them don't think of it in a business sense, that, you know, going on Tanisha's carpet and talking to her, she has a solid following. She's been at this for 11 years. She's talked to some heavyweights. So if they see me talking to her, she's talked to Samuel L. Jackson. You know, she's talked to some pretty damn dope people. That's a win for me.
Yeah. Some people do see it that way. You know, many do see it that way, but there are times too where, you know, when it comes to sharing, people don't share. People don't share the interview. If I tag them on the interview, they don't share the interview. Tabitha Brown shared my interview with her earlier this year and it went viral. Anthony Hamilton during the pandemic shared my interview, and that was only because I asked him to do it as a favor, and he did. Laverne Cox shared an interview that I did with her at the Emmys in 2019. Yeah, these folks don't share the interview. And that's why now I'm in a space where if a publicist reaches out to me and says, can you interview my client? It is a soft decline. And I write that. I say, thank you so much for reaching out, but I'm going to soft decline. I would love to work with you in the future on another title or an activation. Because for me to get up, you know, do my makeup, you know, gentlemen, you guys get to just wash your face, put some moisturizer on and come on the air. No, we got to paste lashes on and, you know, foundation, lipstick. Like we have to do the whole on camera thing. And you want me to get up and get ready and interview one person for 6 minutes, you know, maybe if we're doing a long form or something like this. But even if we do a long form interview and I post it to my platforms, now you got what you need as a publicist to meet your numbers. But I don't get what I need, which is broader, right? To make my audience broader, because your client, when I post it on my Instagram, on my TikTok, on my Facebook, they're barely going to engage the post and they're not going to share it. So no, it is a soft decline. And I say soft because I do like to maintain my relationships with the publicists. But the individual interview is just something that I just can't do anymore. I mean, it has to be somebody really huge, like huge. You know, and I don't even know if that person is out there anymore, because I've just grown like leaps and bounds, and I'm just like, I'm just not inconveniencing myself like that anymore. I've earned my keep. If I don't see your client on a red carpet where there are other opportunities for me to interview dozens of talent, I'm not waking up at 5:00 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to get out of bed to interview your client who's not even going to share it and help me grow my audience. Or when I tag them to collaborate, where, you know, on social, you have two people can be on the same post. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah. You know what, Tanisha, I am at that point now with the podcast. I pulled way back. You are actually the last interview of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm not coming back until March of 2025 because, you know, there are going to be some major changes. I'll just be transparent. I was actually going to stop doing this. This was it, you know, and I had a long talk with my wife and she's like, well, you put 4 years into it. Are you sure you want to stop it? So I had a long talk with myself, and I said, okay, well, you know what? How about I just take it in a slightly different direction? But I'm
Mm-hmm.
where you are right now, and it's interesting because I have a lot of people that email me, hey, I want to come on, but you come on and then you don't promote the fact
Mm-hmm.
that you came on. This is for your audience. You know, I'm going to
Yeah.
promote like crazy because that's what I do. But you're not even promoting the fact that you came on the podcast. So, like you were saying, you know, I don't have to put on any makeup or anything like that. But you know, and thankfully, I just retired after 31 years, so I'm
Congratulations.
good. Thank you. So I retired from SEPTA, yay! But so I have free time, but I'm choosing who to spend my time with. Now, and I love spending time with you. It is well
Thank
worth
you.
it.
Thank
So
you.
I
Likewise.
am not going to spend my time on people who don't even appreciate the fact that I'm spending my time. So I get it
Yeah.
exactly what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. It's got to make sense to me.
Right.
It's got to make sense to me. And when I pitch, businesses, brands, and companies for sponsorships, as I do, it has to make sense to me, and it has to
Mhm.
make sense to them. It's easier for me to get clients for a red carpet. If I say, okay, I'm going to be covering, you know, X amount of award shows for this particular quarter, would you be interested in purchasing a slot that's $2,000, $5,000, $10,000? I have these packages. This is what you'll get. Your logo will go on the interview. Each time that person is coming up in the media, your logo will live permanently on that particular interview. You know, if you want to be my, special guest at an event or screening, that is also included in that. So there are these different packages that I have, and they fare better when I'm doing a red carpet, or if it's an in-person press junket or a virtual press junket where there's several cast members from the show or the film. But all that one off, can you interview this one person? There's a PR team that declined me for the press junket and the red carpet for a big, what we call a big tent pole, a big premiere, a big title. I didn't get either one, but they circled back and was just like, hey, we have this one particular actor who was amazing in the film, by the way. But they were like, oh, your interview time would be 9 o'clock. And I'm like, ooh, I know that I'm going to have a time conflict, but you're also asking me, you couldn't get me on the junket
Mhm.
and you couldn't get me on the red carpet, but you want me to interview this one actor. Maybe 5 years ago, I would have done that, but not today. Not today. There are so many other things. And what this newer generation has taught us is the currency of building your own personal brand. So the celebrity interview, like singularly, is just not working for my model right now.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
has to be a red carpet event for me. If I'm going to, curate, this look, curate story, it has to be for a full red carpet where I'm going to be able to interview 10 actors, and I can break those up and put a sponsorship logo on each individual interview. That is my business model. It is the activation. It is the actor within the activation. But me singularly interviewing your talent who is not even going to share the interview is not happening for me.
Mhm.
I am 51 years old. I have earned my time. If I don't see your talent on a red carpet or in a press junket, the interview probably will not happen. will not happen.
And you know what? That's smart business, because you're just maximizing everything.
That's it.
Yeah, it's just a maximizing of your I guess you would say your commodity.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do things piecemeal anymore. And that, you know what, it's so interesting we're having this conversation, because that's where I'm moving with my podcast. I'm moving away from, actually, you're my last one-on-one interview, because I'm moving to more of a round table type of interview. So it's because I want to maximize and change things up, because I just feel as though the podcast will be a lot better that way. So this is a lot of laughs going on today, but that's interesting. You're just maximizing your capabilities, and
that's it.
That's phenomenal. So let me ask you a question. With you doing that, has there been pushback from any of the PR firms that you've dealt with?
No, it's not usually. I haven't had any pushback. A lot of times, like, if I can't. So what I'm saying to you, this is not something that I would say to them, like, oh, it's not worth me. Let me say this. On a call, I would say, okay, yada, 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 right? But for the most part, it's a time conflict. And that's it. I'm saying here, this is an exclusive where I'm saying this is the bigger reason why. If you don't advocate for me, and if you're not advocating for my presence on a red carpet or the press junket for a title, you can't circle back and ask me to interview one actor from that title. Now, if we have a great relationship and you're like, you know what, Tanisha, I wasn't able to get you on this one, but can you do me a favor? Or sometimes I'll say, oh, wow, they have gotten me on this, and this. Let me do this for them. I'll get up. I have PR friends, allies, I'll say, that I'll move heaven and earth for. 135th Street agency, a Black-owned agency, I'll do whatever I can. Those women at 135th Street agency helped build my career. Despite what people say about Sunshine Sachs has helped move the needle on my career. Sarita Oglesby is an independent publicist. She has helped move the needle on my career. We can have very frank conversations. If we can have a frank conversation, great. But it can't be a consistent decline. But you can interview at the crack of dawn, your time, this one particular actor from the film. I'm not doing that.
And I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Because again, time is the one thing that you can never get back.
No. Yep.
So, at my age, I'm 58, and I'm very cognizant of who I spend my time on now, even more so now. So I really understand what you're saying, but I want to switch gears and talk about some of the giants that we've lost this year. Erica Ash, James Earl Jones, Judith Jameson, Quincy Jones, Carl Weathers, John Amos. So can you talk about if any of those people had an impact directly or indirectly on you as an actress, or as someone who interviews people on the red carpet, or even just in your personal life?
Yeah, I mean, every last person that we've lost this year have definitely been influential in how I move in my career, giving me a sense of what's, fortitude. When you think about Quincy Jones and James Earl Jones and Judith Jamison, the things that they talked about that they've endured is just mind-blowing. I mean, Judith Jamison in an interview talked about having to dance on the back of a flatbed from a truck. Mm-hmm. There was no real stage. You know, so when I think about all of the things that they've endured, like I had to give myself a pep talk today about like, stay the course. Like, stay the course, fight. You know, we all get to a point in our careers where we kind of look at them, or in life, we look at it and we're like, okay, this isn't working. And a lot of us, we can get frustrated in that moment, and we can just want to throw in the towel, pack it up, you know, or we can go back to the tool shed and re-strategize, look at the drawing board and say, okay, what can I do differently? How can I, you know, assert myself in this new moment? Because it's a new moment. Mm-hmm. It's a new moment, you know, and the passing of our legends and icons is just further reminding us that it's a new moment. It's a new moment.
Yeah.
You know, and so what they're teaching me and what their passing has taught me is that it really is my time. It's my time. It is a new guard. And that's all it is. And we honor them for the things that they've done, for the work that they've accomplished, for the ground that they've been able to break, you know, showing us what is possible. What is possible through like dogged dedication. You know, if you want it, you have to stay the course, you know, and through the course, you know, over the last almost 11 years, you know, I've sacrificed so much to be in this space. Mm-hmm. So no, I'm not turning back now. It's like, all right, let me straighten up and let me figure out what my next course of action will be to continue to do this work where it is fiscally responsible, right? Where it's making sense to my bread and butter, my bottom line, and the legacy of my family, and the legacy of my late father, who financially invested in me so that I could do this. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's just like, okay, you know, I still am like, you know, Daddy, I still want to make sure you got a tighter ROI. Mm-hmm. You know, rest in peace to my father. You know, I have a board where I'm just like, all right, I need to make X amount of dollars per quarter. You know, I want to be able to have this amount of money that I can pass down to the next generation. And although I don't have my own children, I do have a nephew. You know, I have a couple of younger cousins that I would definitely, hopefully, could provide some sort of, you know, legacy to. You know, so I would love to be able to do for the younger men and women in my family what my father did for me and my sister and my nephew. You know, and so the money it has to make sense, you know, and you can't give breaks or discounts.
No,
you can't scale a business. You can't scale a business. You know, I mean, I do a special in my social media. I'll say, okay, you know, $250, I'll put your logo on for social media. And people will snarl at that. And I'm like, okay, well, don't pay it. Go to someone else. Because $250 is a steal. Mm-hmm. $250 is a steal to put your logo on one of my interviews to go on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And TikTok and LinkedIn and Facebook. You don't want to do the $250, you don't have to. Somebody else will. You know.
And interestingly enough, when I talk to people in this business who are filmmakers, actors, whatever, I always tell them that you are a business. And in order for your business to thrive, you have to invest in your business.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just explained is an investment
Mm-hmm.
in your business. So if you're not willing to invest $250 in your business, why are you expecting someone to invest in you? Why are you going to, you know, investors saying, hey, I'd like you to give me this amount of money. And they're looking at you saying, well, you didn't even want to invest $250. So why should I trust you with my money? At the end of the day, you're a business. You're a business entity.
Yep.
And, it's interesting, Tanisha, that unfortunately, I run into too many people that look like you and I who
Mm.
have that mentality. Man, I ain't giving you that. Really? But, oh, you got on a Gucci belt and some Louboutins. But
Yeah.
you don't want
No,
to.
it's like people will buy or they won't,
Mhm.
I have a goal every month that I have to sell, and I don't mind DMing people and asking them to make a contribution.
Mhm.
Will you make a $100 sponsorship contribution? I will list you in the rolling credits. Some folks would be like, heck yeah, T. And some people will ignore me. And
Mhm.
some people will be like, another time.
Mhm.
I have people who will donate, X amount of dollars every quarter, every month.
Mhm.
I engage my audience, and I'm not too proud to ask for help.
Mhm.
I'm not too proud to sell my brand. These are my offerings. You have to sell it.
Every, I'm sorry, go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
What is happening, what a lot of us get caught up in is the popularity, right, of
Mhm.
what we look like on social. There are a lot of young men and women in my space. We get invited to a lot of different dinners, cocktail events, screenings, where the social media component looks great. Like, we were invited here, we're invited there, and we're doing the things that they want us to do, which is post, post, post. But you got to think about, is it cost effective? So I'm going to get up, put on an outfit, do this hair, or for me, do this cut, do the makeup, transportation. I'm a 9 driver, so I have to take Uber everywhere. If
Mhm.
I were in New York, it's the Metro card, but it's still time spent. But as long as we're in the room, getting the popularity and all the likes and the go girl, you did that, you look amazing, you are the boss chick, or you look good, bro. But meanwhile, at home, your home life is not together.
Mhm.
You're not living the way that you want to live, but you look great on a social media grid. And you have to say, I can only do this for a time. When I was turning 40, I remember saying to myself, this is not where I need to be. This is not where I want to be. So I subleased my place in Harlem, and I started renting rooms from friends, exes, because I said, I need to move my career. And right now, I can't do this big rent for this apartment, a brownstone ground floor apartment in Harlem, Strivers Row. I can't do this right now. I'm going to rent rooms. I'm going to couch surf. I'm going to do all these things so that I can amplify the visibility of my brand. And I was everywhere, going back and forth between New York and Los Angeles, trying to, of course, look great on the social media grid, because people are super shallow and superficial, right? So they got to see you at all the places, looking good. Like, oh my gosh, she's here, she's there, she's everywhere. Meanwhile, I'm like renting an Airbnb.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, I'm on somebody's couch. And I was willing to do that for a time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to a place where I'm like, all right, I got to get back home. I got to get grounded. You know, I've been everywhere. I no longer have FOMO. Now it's JOMO, the
Mm-hmm.
joy of missing out. Because now I'm in my home and I'm strategizing what financially makes sense to my future. So I don't need to be at every activation that I'm invited to. I RSVP for my clients, you know, for one of my packages that include, you know, attending all these events where it could be beneficial to your brand, because you can go and network in these rooms with people that you wouldn't ordinarily get to network with because you don't have a plug into the space. You know, and so we have to really understand, you know, what's important and what's not important. And so many of us are just caught up in what we look like on social media. And I've been there. I'm almost sure, look, if I could put a number on it, I'm not even going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that to myself right now. But I've spent an exorbitant amount of money, quote, trying to grow the brand.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be at this event. I don't do that shit anymore. If I get declined, before I used to, you know, kick, scream, and, you know, is there any reason why my outlet got declined?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are certain big tempos that if I get declined, I'm like, okay, what can we do here? Can we revisit? But for the most part, if I get declined, I'm like, cool. I'll be home till the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I understand now the currency of it all. And the only thing that I am focused on is it making sense to me financially? Am I creating my goals to where they're benefiting the integrity of my brand? Because just like you have talent on these red carpets that don't want to share the interview that I've done with them for Black in America, I don't want to interview all of y'all.
Yeah.
How about that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. And the freedom for me is because I'm my own entity. There is no editor or producer because I am the editor. I am the producer. I am the writer. You know, I'm all the things, you know, and I make sound and fair decisions on whether or not I want to interview or not interview, you know? So, I mean, and listen, I'm fair. You know, I interview people from, you know, the quote BET. They have a whole audience. BET is huge. They have an audience that is loyal. But it's been hard for me. That's another carpet that I've never covered. I've never covered the BET Awards.
What?
Never covered the BET Awards. And I'm okay with that, right? But now when I get pitches from PR firms that want me to interview their talent that's in a BET movie, I just decline now. Or just ignore it altogether. Wow. I mean, I've interviewed a massive amount of talent from BET titles. Massive amount of talent from BET titles. But when my pitch comes in to do the BET Awards, declined. You know? And that's the gatekeeping. Maybe I don't fit the demographic. You know, maybe they feel like I don't have the reach. But
that makes no sense.
Right.
If you've if you've interviewed an innumerable amount of BET talent, then why would you not then have the reach
Right.
to
Right.
work the carpet? That
Right.
makes no sense.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so many moving pieces. Oh my God, Floyd, like I could talk, I'm plugged in, baby. I could talk about this at length.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been an amazing hour. But there is one question that I just could not wait to ask. You take some of the best pictures that I have ever seen. I would get my phone and go in and show my wife. I was like, look at this picture. Look how she took this. And my wife was like, those are very unique. Why did she take pictures like that? So my question to you and for the entire audience, and ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this now or you're going to be listening to this in the future, Tanisha Laverne Grant takes some of the most interesting and iconic pictures I have ever seen anyone take. Make sure you go check them out. So how did that begin? Because again, they are so uniquely fascinating. How did you start taking pictures like that?
Of myself?
Yes, because with the way
Yeah.
you do it, how did that come about?
I'm in love with myself, right? That's it. I am in love with myself. And my goal is to capture me loving myself exactly as I am in every chapter of my life. And as a 51-year-old woman, where 50-year-old women are often pushed out to pasture, I am determined to always see myself as a remarkable energy. It is how I feel about myself in a particular moment when the shutter clicks. Because we all have moments in our life where we're like, oh my God, I feel like crap today, or I, see another mark of me aging. But I know that I am an energy, I feel certain things. And my goal is to capture me in those moments. We are often put in a box as women, and especially Black women. We get there's so many messages that we get, right? Have great self-esteem, have high self-esteem, but, tone it down. Well, which is it? Which is it? Love yourself, love your body, but stay covered up. No, I'm not covering shit. I'm not covering shit. I just won't do that. I will not crush myself down into small bits of biteable pieces for other people. It's like we talk about Black beauty, but do we really believe in it for ourselves? Because I've learned to believe in it for myself. And I want to capture me when I'm feeling as full and exuberant and beautiful as possible. I'm going to capture that. And I don't know what it means to anybody else. All I know is what it means for me. I want to see myself in a certain way. I want to see myself like that. And I want it to live for as long as possible because I'm aging every day. The way I look today is not the way I looked 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And I want to capture myself in every decade and every chapter of my life, and so I do it because it makes me feel good. I do it because, listen, I've had people say, oh, your pictures are risque. Well, risque, to define risque.
Mm-hmm.
Define it. Like, what is it? Is it risque because of my body type? Because if it's a slender body type, then you're not saying it's risque. But because I happen to be curvy and I delight in the curves, now I'm being risque. But when you talk about art, you go into a museum and you're looking at naked figures, you know, it's just really difficult for Black women because we are for everybody else's gaze and everybody else's consumption except our own. Well, there's always been a very visceral reaction to my body. I've always been told since I was a young girl to take care of my body. Don't lose your looks. Lose money, but don't lose your looks because it's hard to get them shits back. I mean, that's the environment that I grew up in. I mean, we all have heard it from the time you're a little Black girl, grown-ass men are clocking you for gays. You know, so I have just learned over the years to love myself and to take power and agency over my body. I want to see me a certain way. And I'm going to post it. You know, it's just very simple for me. And I think more women need to see themselves, right, in that way. Don't just be objectified by people and strangers in the street. Objectify yourself. You're a thing of beauty. I don't care if it's just your earlobes or your hands, you know, delight in that, right? Like, I'm going to take a photo of me in this bracelet later. Mm-hmm. You know, like, delight. You have one life. Be beautiful, feel beautiful. How do you feel beautiful? That's what it is for me. It's like, this is how I feel about myself. Mm-hmm. I don't require anybody to amplify me. I'm going to amplify myself. And this is how I'm doing it. I do it through my work. I do it through my wardrobe. I do it through how I speak, my mannerisms. I mean, that's it. And I think women should make love to themselves. And I don't mean that in a vulgar way, mm-hmm. but like, make love to yourself, touch yourself. You know, learn your angles, learn what makes you feel good. You know, it's just not about someone telling you like, oh, baby, you look great. No, do you believe it for yourself? Do you believe it for yourself? Like, I need to look good to me before I can look good for somebody else, because if nobody is complimenting me, I'm complimenting me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been called all kind of names. You know, bald bitch, bald Black bitch, you know, whore. I'm like, y'all don't even know me, but because I'm in a swimsuit on Instagram, I gotta be a whole whore. Meanwhile, I've been abstinent for 5 years, but I'm a whole whore. Wow, because I'm in swimwear on a rooftop, in a pool, in August, in LA.
What else you supposed to be wearing?
You know, I'm not going to punish myself in that way, because to be a Black woman is to be punished every day, regularly, consistently. So I'm not going to come home and be in the confines of a place that is safe for me. And I love myself and I capture that, you know, and I don't need to hire a photographer to do that. Mm-hmm. I can do it myself and shoot myself in exactly the way that I want to be shot. You know, and I just encourage men and women of all ages to, you know, see yourself as a divine being. And that's what it is. I see myself, hopefully, you know, almost in a way that is angelic. You know, I'm not going to be in this body forever.
Mhm.
And I just, again, for me, it's just about marking my time in it. And yeah, when I think about other women who are akin to me in the same energy, I think, of course, is, Josephine Baker, Eartha Kitt, Cicely Tyson. Like, those women learned to love themselves. They knew that they were the cat's meow. Either you loved it or you hated it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I find like women questioning it, it's just because they question their own authority over themselves. Why aren't you posing the way that I'm posing is the bigger question.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you just like this? And you know what I mean? Like, why aren't you not getting what you want and need? Use what you want, or use what you got to get what you want.
Own it.
It's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And that's why I said we need to have bigger conversations around that. It's like, women are often told, it's like, have high self-esteem. Well, how do we get that? When we're always told to condense ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
or we're being too much, or that's inappropriate. It's
conflicting messages.
Yeah, it's about respectability politics.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time someone said, wow, you have a really nice body. And I'm like, well, shit, let me see this shit for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what you looking at? I want to see what you see.
Right.
And then once I did, I was like, oh, okay. All right, we're on to something.
Mm-hmm.
We're on to something. We are cooking with fish grease. See yourself better than the way that other people see you. And that's what it is. And I see women now who are, for a myriad of reasons, starting to work out more, exercise more, eat right. And I'm like, take the clothes off, put the swimsuit on, swim in the water, get in the jacuzzi, put on the form-fitting gown. Beauty is more about its energy. It's how it really is about how you feel about you.
Mm-hmm.
Even when someone thinks that you are, unattractive, because your existence has nothing to do with how they see you or how they feel. And I know that is what fucks people up. Excuse me.
No.
I know that people have their ideas about how, they may think I look, right? And I'm bucking that. I am bucking it. I'm bald. No man's going to want to be with a bald head woman. I'm bucking that. And there are certain women who get upset about that. Because I always get my man. Always. Always, always, always. It has nothing to do with the hair on my head. But we have subscribed to all these ideas of beauty. And so when we subscribe to these ideas of beauty, and then here comes this woman who is the complete antithesis of that, and she has the unmitigated gall to rub it in our faces. That's what you think I'm doing. When in the actuality, I'm just affirming me.
Right.
I am just affirming me.
Right. You're standing in your power.
Yeah, I live and work in Hollywood. It's a very brutal industry. Ageism is real, looksism is real, height is, whatever it is, I have to do battle with it just like everybody else. So me capturing myself in still or a moving photo in the way that feels good to me I'll do it for as long as I can. And I think more men and women should do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I really didn't think it was like a thing until people were just like, well, why are you posing that way? I'm like, well, why are you not posing?
Right.
Why are you not? We all have a camera.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you having a day where you say, I'm taking some photos of myself? Like, you're this wonderfully made creation.
Mm-hmm.
And each chapter of your life just represents a different story of who you are. Go for it.
Yeah, because
Go
if you're not,
for it.
yeah, if you're not loving on you, then who is? And you know that, as you said, that energy, you know, like energy attracts like energy.
Yeah.
So if you're exuding what you exude, as you said, you're always going to get your man bald headed or head full of hair, because it's not about the outer, it's about the inner, because energy is attracted to energy.
Yep.
So, you know, men who are attracted to you see that energy, they feel that energy. That's what it's a perfect example. My wife and I were having a conversation the other night, and she was like, how is it that some people just always find trouble? I said, it's because of the energy that they exude.
Yep.
They exude troublesome energy, so they're always going to find troublesome people. So if you're exuding positivity, if you're exuding I'm beautiful or I'm handsome or I'm that dude or I'm that girl, that is what's going to come into your orbit, you know, and you're always going to repel people who don't feel and think that way.
Yep.
But then, oh, she thinks she all that. I do, as a matter of fact. And as you said, what is the problem with that? Now, there's arrogance and there's hubris, but if you have full confidence in yourself, there's nothing wrong with that, because at the end and the beginning of the day, if you don't love who you are, how do you expect someone else to love you?
That's it. That's it. You know, and your whole existence, you know, is determined by somebody else's opinion and value of you, is just giving away all of your power, and it is dangerous.
It is.
It is dangerous. You know, I rarely ask another person, like, what do you think of my outfit? Because it doesn't matter. I don't care what you think. I don't. I love it. I love it. If I want to take fig leaves and paste them all over, trust me, I'm doing it because I think it's dope.
Yeah.
And I like it. And I'm going to move in it. And now you're going to second guess your thought. You're going to be like, well, damn, you know, she's making them fig leaves look good.
That's me. That's me. I bought this scarf. It's this brother in Philadelphia, Kayvon Scarves, and he makes the most. I'm going to send you his information because you will look fabulous in his scarves. And he had this scarf, and my best friend modeled it, and it's like a fur scarf, but it's green.
Ooh.
Oh, it's beautiful. I'm going to have to take a picture of it and send it to you. And I saw that thing, and I said, I got to have it. My wife was like, no, you're not. I'm like, yes, I am.
Wow.
I can't wait for it to get cold, because that thing is so fly. Now, as a man, you know, that doesn't look manly. Well, I'm man enough to wear it.
Yep.
I'm man enough to wear it. And again, just like you said, what you think, because I love colors, so I wear pink, lavender, I wear all of that. Oh, I wouldn't wear that. Well, I'm not asking you to wear it. I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter, because, but I have the same mindset that you do, that other people's opinion of me ain't none of my business. It ain't got nothing to do with me. Because like Deion Sanders says, I love me. I ain't worry about who you love. I love me. I love me, and that's enough. The fact that I love me is enough.
And God loves me more.
Absolutely. So if
God
you got that, then
and only He can judge me.
Mm-hmm.
Only He can judge me. But I am just, you know, I'm exhausted of the mixed messaging, and I'm exhausted of women mistreating each other based off of respectability politics. You know, the way we hold each other's feet to the fire based off of respectability politics is just remarkably reductive, and it's unfair. It's so unfair. Like, oh, you're this age, you're not supposed to be doing that, or you're married, you're not supposed to be doing this, or you're not married and you're not supposed to be doing this, or any thoughts that you have about marriage and children and child rearing are just completely null and void because you're not married and you're not a mom. We do this shit to each other. And it's just all it's just so counter to anything healthy. Like, how can we have real community and advocacy if we are always looking to be better? Because that's what it is. We're looking to be perceived as having more. It's the one-upmanship. It's I can't tell you how many times people love to ask me, well, are you really happy? I'm like, well, not when my money's fucked up. What do you mean? Like, what are you really trying to get at? What are you asking? Like, am I really happy? What is that? Like, because there's no way that you're supposed to have any level of success, right? Or any sort of dream come to fruition for you. Because as a woman, the value still is being a wife and being a mom. So despite me having like other things that other women may not have accomplished, am I really happy? Well, are you happy when your husband not speaking to you? You know what I mean? It's like, every Bob Barker showcase has something wonderful to offer and something that's challenging. Mm-hmm. So I just wish we can stop with these conversations like, oh, I wonder if he's happy, or I wonder if she's happy because her system does not mimic my system. You chose a life that you want. And I believe that if you chose your life with decision, right? With careful decision and accuracy, and you are precise in that choice, I believe that you are happy. I believe that you are happy. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that somebody who didn't choose that got to be less happy. You got to find a chink in the chain. I had somebody ask me a couple of weeks ago, well, this is exactly how they asked me. Well, have you been out of the country yet? And I'm like, well, what kind of question is that? What kind of question is that? As if you're trying to say that if I haven't, that's your one-upmanship on me. Mm-hmm. And now I have to somehow answer that to prove that we're on equal footing. Right. Because you obviously view my life as being something very specific, and you're trying to find a way that's saying, you're above me in some way, shape, or form in this moment. When in reality, it's like we're all transformative. Mm-hmm. Now, and I may not have been out of the country as often as I would like to, right? But that doesn't mean that it can't happen. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean when I decide to go out of the country, I'm going to go buy a home in the country that I'm visiting. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's just like, we gotta stop. We gotta stop. Like, I could be as fit as possible, right? And then something could happen and I'm not as fit. Mm-hmm. And that has happened. I broke my foot a couple years ago, 5 screws and a titanium plate in my right foot. Mm. And I was very open with what my body was doing, going through like menopause. And I was in my swimsuit and I'm like, oh my God, I am lush. Like, this is what my body is doing right now. I will never hide, because I think we need to see whether or not women accept it or not, or acknowledge it or not. We need to see real women in real time. Mm-hmm. Having these experiences and these hormonal and bodily changes that come with age. Because I am a beautiful being as a size 0, a 2, a 4. a 6, God forbid, a fucking 12. But I'm going to rock that too if it happens. I'm going to rock that too. I'm going to roll my fat ass upstairs to the pool and put my swimsuit on.
I know that's right.
I forgot this was an interview, Floyd.
No, girl. This is an adult. This is adult interview. We just talk. We chopping it up.
I forgot.
We just talking.
Yeah, but that's it. I have women in my family who come in every size.
Likewise.
And when I tell you, every last one of them they know within them that they are a beautiful being, from size 2 to 22. They gonna glide, slide, and rumple, but they are showing up in the fullness of who they are. And those are the type of women that I grew up around. Love yourself. I don't care what size you are. Stick your chest out, hold your head up, love you as you are right now. There's too much of negative self-talk, so I just try to keep that at bay. But, we want to do things in our lives where we show we are doing all the things. We're at all the parties. We're at all the galas. Meanwhile, health insurance is not set up. Estate planning is not in place. All these things that really matter. And these are things I have had to learn the hard way. I'm like, I can't keep going out to all these Hollywood events. I can't keep going out to all of the events in New York City. I need to sit still. I want to live a certain way. I am understanding, and I guess this just comes with time, because we are so taught, especially men and women like myself who come from, quote, underserved communities, right? Coming from Chester, PA, in order for me to have many of my dreams fulfilled in a tangible way, I had to come to Philadelphia, right? I did my internship at NBC 10 in Philadelphia. There's no NBC in Chester. There was no grocery store. There was no active theater community in Chester. There was Freedom Theater in Philly. Now we had, I want to say activists who had community theaters at the YWCA. We had men and women. There was a gentleman whose daughter was my godmother. His name was Bill Dandridge. And he had a community center in Chester, PA. He was an amazing artist. He would travel to Africa and he would pour into us. He would pour into the children of Chester in his community, teaching us about travel and the importance of having a passport, and, showing us slides of all the places he had attended. He had visited in Africa, Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Ivory Coast, and he would, bring back fragrance, oils, art, sculptures, all of that. But we needed more of him, and so for me to access the things that I wanted to be and I wanted to become, I had to leave my community, and so I was taught from a very young age, you have to get out of here. You have to get out of here. You can't stay here and be and become what you need to become. And so you are already operating from a lack, right? Oh, I got to get this done.
Right.
I got to get this done by any means necessary. And so that was my mindset for so many years. Oh my God, I got to get this done by any means necessary, because there aren't enough images, of any kind of success story coming out of my environment. So I have to get out there and I have to get it done, whatever it takes, money, not being able to come home for, holidays. I got to go and I have to make sure that I'm getting this done. And it becomes costly. The cost starts, they start to add up, and now I'm just at a point in my life where I just want to live a very holistic life, just more balance. Cause for me, it was career.
Right.
Nothing else mattered.
So you were locked in.
Yeah. Like everything else was secondary. Everything else was secondary. And I grew up in a home where my late father used to always say, be somebody. You will be somebody. You will be somebody. Be somebody. Be somebody. So with that being drummed into my head, like that was, it was an indoctrination. That's all even now, be somebody.
Right.
Be somebody. So everything else was second to that. And that is because we are so accustomed to there not being enough opportunity. And that is why we behave the way that we do, because we really don't believe there was enough room. I think we like telling ourselves that because it sounds good. Right. But in reality, no, there ain't enough room. There ain't enough room. You really have to step into your faith muscle. And, know and have faith that God is going to create opportunity, because in real time, it does not look like there is enough room. It just, it doesn't. I mean, how many Black journalists are working for, Good Morning America or CBS This Morning, right? There are only a few slots. So we got to stop saying, oh, there's room for everybody. Well, if there's room for everybody, how come you're doing the gatekeeping?
Right. Yeah, if there was room for everybody, then everybody should be able to be let in.
Yeah. But you're gatekeeping for whatever reason. But I went on a long tangent there. I forgot what my driving point was.
No. You gave some gems. This has been absolutely phenomenal. We've been talking almost 2 hours.
Yeah. I mean, last time we had like a good 30 minutes and it conked out there. I was like, oh my goodness, it was just getting really good. But yeah, Floyd, like life is really short. I've had to learn some things the hard way.
Yeah.
And I'm no longer willing to learn anything else the hard way. Pardon me, I'm just not doing it anymore. And, I understand wholeheartedly that whatever a person chooses, willingly is their joy.
Yeah.
Or it makes sense, financially or for their family. A lot of people will project, this energy onto me where they think that I think that I'm better. I don't. Different.
Right.
But not better. Let's be clear.
Yeah. That's different.
Different.
Yeah.
I don't want to move the way that you move because that doesn't work for the skin I'm in.
And that's boring. That's conformity.
Yeah.
Why am I conforming to your mode of thinking as to how I should act and how I should move?
Yep.
Because then I'm living the life you want me to live as opposed to the life I want to live.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, I have to get up and look me in the mirror, not you.
Yep.
So when people come at me with that, I'm like, look, player, I'm good. Trust me. You know what, Tanisha? It's something about being in your 50s.
Whew. Come on, Floyd.
Let me tell you something. I have zero tolerance, no tolerance, and a very low threshold for bullshit. And I'm not just going to tolerate it. I don't have to deal with it because, in my 20s and my 30s, I'm at the age now where, dog, I ain't got to deal with you. And to be perfectly honest, I would rather not deal with you.
Yep.
So this is a blessing that I don't have to deal with you. That's one less headache that I have to go through within my day. So it's a win-win for everybody.
That's it. That's the goal. I'm proud of everybody. I'm happy for you. You got the big house, you got the picket fences, you got the several cars, you got all of the trips, you are retiring, like somebody was just like, what are you going to do? You don't talk about retiring. No, I don't talk about retiring. Retiring doesn't necessarily mean you're done working. It means you're done working at a particular job.
Right.
You may go on to do something else. I said retirement is just I swear it's some sort of government hoodwink here in the United States. Like, oh, you put in all this amount of time and then you retire. But if you just look at the numbers, like we're living to be 90 and 100 years old, and retirement is not going to last that long. You got to really invest that money, properly.
Right.
So retirement just means you're done, at this particular job or occupation. It's like a graduation.
Yeah.
So I've had people say to me, like, oh, how do you do what you do? It's not stable. I could never do that. I need stability. And it's projecting, and I'm like, do what you're doing.
Right.
You're somehow trying to validate your life choices based off of my life choices. I'm like, I don't want to work a traditional 9 to 5. But that doesn't mean that I should be punished or, forced to listen to your digs.
Right.
Whenever I hit like some financial turbulence, oh girl, you need to come on out of that. Well, when your boss is riding you for not meeting their numbers, I don't say to you, oh, you need to come out of that. I don't accuse you of being mediocre. I don't take a dig at you for, quote, playing it safe and boring. I don't know what you got responsibility. I don't know what your program is.
Right.
You may say, you know what, there's other things I want to pursue, but I need to get these years in because I got a family. I got a mother who needs help. I got a kid who needs to benefit from my insurance with this company. But as soon as I'm done this next chapter, I'm going for my music. I'm going for my art. I'm going for my travel. So I don't we are so transformative. Anything can happen at any time.
Right.
Tomorrow morning, I may say, you know what? I want to go work somewhere 9 to 5. I need some better health insurance, if that's even available. Companies don't have pensions anymore.
No, they don't. Mine is one of the last ones to do it.
Yeah.
They're getting rid of them.
Yeah.
We're dinosaurs.
Yep. So, and if you're lucky, you get $500,000, 300,000, maybe $1 million. Maybe that's got to last. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
I had to pay $20,000 to get my foot fixed cash out of my bank account in 2022. My insurance was not accepted at Cedars-Sinai Foot Center. Wow. My injury was so bad that if I did not have surgery within the 2-week time frame, I could be disabled today.
Wow.
Anything can happen. And then we went on strike the next year in Hollywood. So just back to back to back to back to back. But I thank God every day that I had the money. And I had the money because my late father made provisions for me. And that's a whole big conversation about a transfer of financial accessibility, and estate planning and wills and Black fatherhood. That's a whole nother conversation, and so, but yeah, we have to stop projecting our projecting and imposing, and that is what people do, to go back to like my photos, I just never even thought of them as anything other than me taking a picture of myself like we do.
Yeah.
We take selfies every day.
Yes.
I just want my photo to look a certain way off of the images that I've seen and the women that have been celebrated, right, on the pages of Essence magazine. Well, it doesn't look like I'm going to ever be featured in Essence magazine, so I'm going to capture myself in the way that I think I will look if Essence magazine tapped me for an editorial shoot.
Right.
I'm going to capture myself.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way that, all the, previous women who have gone before me have been captured, through all these amazing photographers. The images, look back at the images of Diana Ross when she was sliced, William Gamine. And, we talk about, again, like Cicely Tyson, Donna Summer, like all these beautiful icons. I see myself in that same ilk. And I'm not going to hire a photographer when I could do it myself.
Yeah.
And
you do a hell of a job.
And obviously now, and I'm learning that, okay, people are really having a reaction and experience with the image. So thank you for sharing that, because for me, I'm either I'm in my loft or I'm taking these photos, or I'm at the pool. Even when I'm on the red carpet, like my arms are going up.
Yeah.
You got to get it all.
Yeah.
Why not be here? It's the red carpet.
Yeah. Show up and show out.
Right. When I think about the women and my bloodline, when I think about my ancestors, when I think about the women who had to watch their husbands be beat and lynched, when I think about the women who didn't have the opportunity to enjoy in the simplicities of femininity and womanhood, who didn't have the opportunity to wear silks and satins and gowns and diamonds and furs, I'm a delight in all of that. And I swear sometimes it is a spiritual overtaking. Sometimes I step out and something overtakes me other than myself. And I'm like, oh, this is one of my ancestors who may have been shackled, who's just like, yes, we are here. We are in this moment, and we're not going back. We're not going back.
And you know what? That you just said that it really puts a different perspective on it, because the fact that you can show up the way you show up has been bought and paid for. It has been bought and paid for. So when you get that feeling, and it's interesting, sometimes when I put something on, and it's amazing that you put a name to that, because sometimes you'll feel a certain way, and I'm like, woo.
Yep.
That's somebody saying, you know what, brother, you did good.
Yep.
Someone who couldn't do good because they weren't in a position to be able to do that.
Yep.
They were in chains, or they were kept down. So the fact that we're able to step out in all of our glory, and you step on the red carpet and you got your hands up, and you're looking off into the distance, or you got that tuxedo on it, and you're looking fly with the Versace shoes on. And that feeling, that's exactly what that is. That's those spirits saying, damn, because you know what? Not only are you dressed, they're dressed. That is amazing. I never thought of it like that.
I mean, that's what it is for me. I can't speak for anybody else, nor would I dare. But I know that there are moments where I don't hold back what I'm feeling. If it's me like stretching my neck and going like this, if it's the arms, if it's the profile pose that I love, whatever,
That's signature. That's signature.
It's like, once upon a time, this body was standing on an auction block.
Yes.
And now this body is standing on a red carpet, gloriously draped. It's the context for me. So I feel like I owe it to my bloodline and my ancestors to delight in the fullness of every opportunity afforded me. They were standing on auction blocks, stripped, beaten, investigated, mouths cranked open, assaulted, manipulated, and now we're here in these spaces I'm doing everything in my power that is the complete glorious antithesis of that. My body, my choice. I'm in a swimsuit on the rooftop of a building that I live in. This is for me. Nobody's going to assault me. Nobody's going to take advantage of me. I am here for me on my own agency. We think of Sarah Bartman, Hottentot Venus is what she has been called throughout history. You know, a Black woman who was of ample body, who was sexually assaulted and put in a circus. Mm. Right? And for women, you know, like myself, who are full in our bodies, we are always taught that we are just for a sexual experience only. We are not taught that we deserve love and care and tenderness and kindness. That's for a more slender body type, right? You know, and so women of my body type, you know, even when I was like smaller, and I am in no way, you know, a big girl, but age has filled me out a little bit more. And the messaging that comes with that is so volatile. Mm-hmm. It's just crazy, you know? And so when I think about Black women and our bodies, and I think about Sarah Bartman and Hottentot Venus, it's just really important for me to honor those type of women. I'm going to love everything about me. And it's not for sale. Nobody has to beat me into submission. Nobody is going to barge into my home in the middle of the night and take advantage of me. Mm-hmm. Like, this is my body. You know, I get to own it. I get to enjoy it on my terms. Like, that's it. That's what my human experience has been about, you know, in terms of, you know, that particular vertical, in terms of why I, you know, photograph myself the way that I do. Well, why not? Mm-hmm. Why not?
Yeah.
You know? Ooh. Yeah. I mean, listen, I've had people say, oh, well, you know, you'll never get a job in the corporate news structure if that's where you want to return to posing the way that you do. I said, that's silly, because you have women doing the weather and they have bodycon dresses and their titties are in their throat.
Girl, listen.
Okay. You know, I follow Nichelle Turner, who I love and adore. She's a host on Entertainment Tonight. She is the first African-American woman to co-host Entertainment Tonight in the show's 40-something year history. But, you know, she also has taken up dance. And so she does all these like amazing dances, exotic dances. Mm-hmm. So you mean to tell me that, you know, because I pose the way that I do, I can't get a job in a corporate space if that's the direction that I want to go to? When you have Nichelle Turner, who is doing all these types of like stripper-esque type of moves, pole dancing, that's acceptable. But what I'm doing is not acceptable?
That's crazy.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Because I'm not going to lie, Tanisha, the weather is some of the most enjoyable time to watch the news.
The weather reports.
The weather. You're like, whoa, good look. Men have never been more interested in the weather than they are today.
That's what I'm saying. And it's a way of, again, trying to control and manipulate and oppress and push down and dismiss and diminish, force me into something so much smaller than what, my energy wants to be.
Right.
You can't contain me. You put me in a cage, I'm going to rattle that shit until I can get out of it. Like, that's it. Ugh.
So this has been absolutely amazing. So before you go, what is next?
Oh my goodness. So next for me, I am adding more like fashion and beauty to my brand. Wanting to go global in 2025, and the Trump administration has definitely propelled me to seek more opportunities in other countries. So, working on getting that work visa, to do things in film, media, fashion, beauty, and entertainment in other parts of the globe. To write more, like I'm working on a few books, about my journey, just about my personal experience and autobiography, which I'm sure I probably won't release probably for another like 5 or 10 years, because I kind of feel like, the story is still being told. I'm going to write as much as I can, because you just never know. And I would like to have some sort of story about my life left behind, be it through podcasts like this, or for me to be able to leave something in print in a book. So I want to be able to get that done. But, my goal is to live a more healthy, deliberately holistic lifestyle, so to learn more about, money and finances, and, how to make my stuff, work for me. Like that's the goal. I can't believe it is dark outside now. The sun was out when we started. Oh my goodness. God is good. God is good.
And all the time.
Yeah, it's like 5 here. It's later your time.
It's almost 8:15.
Yeah.
8:15. Yeah. So we've been chopping it up for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But it's been such a phenomenal conversation.
Carrying on at the top. Oh my God, that was embarrassing.
It is what it is. But this has been such an amazing conversation. And I really look forward to people just sitting down and listening to it, or just watching the podcast. I had one of my good friends here earlier today, Louis Duvall, and he actually put in the comments, Cheney legend right there. So your name precedes you. Yeah. So he was like, Cheney legend. I would say, yes, sir. So, and I saw the post you put up with the other 2 phenomenal young women.
Oh my goodness. That was a couple nights ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wow, is all I could say. Historical Black colleges and universities, our customs and traditions. It's important that culture, mainstream dominant culture, our culture, Black culture, is just reminded of the joy of what it is to attend an HBCU. And we have our own customs and traditions, and we are serious about them. And I never wanted to go unnoticed what being Miss Cheney University did for me, and other campus queens feel the same way, and so Rosin White had reached out to me, letting me know she was going to be in LA. And I was just like, wait a minute. We've got to make this a moment. I said, we have to capture this. Excuse me. I'm like, we have to capture this. There's just no way. And so I called up another queen who's younger than us, who was Miss Lincoln University. She happens to be someone who I just love and adore. Oh, well, you went to Lincoln, right?
My oldest daughter graduated from Lincoln. Yeah.
Okay. My sister graduated from there, 1854. Yeah. And I said, we have to do a photograph. We have to do something to lock this moment, because when are we ever going to get this again? And so I was just like, all right, I have an idea. We'll all wear like fur coats or whatever. I'm just like, I have a few and we'll put them on. and we'll go to my rooftop and we will take these images. And so that's what happened. And and I was not feeling well. Obviously dealing with all this like sinus stuff, and the seasons are changing and it's colder at night here in LA. And I was really tired and feeling lethargic, but I was just like, I have to get this done. And the feedback has been amazing. The outpour of love and, people DMing me and texting me and calling me was just like, this needs to be a thing.
Yes.
This needs to be some sort of summit. And I already had that pinned on my board where I want to do an HBCU Queen Summit. Where we can all get together annually and just have different sorts of workshops, like Black Campus Queens in Film and TV, Black Campus Queens in Medicine, Black Campus Queens in Law, and have a big weekend like we do for homecoming, like every organization does. And I was just like, we really need to like rally around each other more and see each other, and so that photo coming out, especially for myself and Roz and Nava, because me and Roz are Gen X, we're older. Nava is a millennium. So, we've been here, crowned like 30 plus years ago. And, to see us, even when, once we were in it, we're doing it. And then like once they posted on social, and to see the still, I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad we did this. So glad we did it. Because, life changes really quickly.
Yeah, it does. And that's amazing that summit, because again, I think now more than ever, if we as Black people have not gotten the message that we are all we have.
Yeah.
So us celebrating us and uplifting us and holding us down.
Yeah.
If we are not going to do it now, we are never going to do it. So a summit and other things like that, because someone actually reached out to me, and I actually have to call her tomorrow, reached out to me last week, and she said, look, you have a platform, I have a platform, we have to do something. Well, I'm already, have my game plans in place, but people are reaching out saying, what can we do? What can we do? So if I can help in any kind of way, you know how to find me.
Yes.
You know how to reach me. But where can people find you?
You can follow me on social at Tanisha Laverne Grant. All of my interviews post on my social. But I do have a blog spot on blackinamerica.com where my interviews live there as well. But I post everything that I do on my social media, because that is where we are. That is where we are. You got to post on social.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And again, Tanisha, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, because I know, season is gearing up and, you have important people to talk to. So I appreciate
you are one of them. You are one of them. You are one of them.
I appreciate you taking the time out to come back on my podcast. I really appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, if you like the podcast, please subscribe and make sure you follow Tanisha on all of her platforms, because she is absolutely amazing. And if you like the podcast, leave a message. And, if it resonated with you, leave a message and let me know, because my goal is to bring you more amazing interviews like the one you just witnessed tonight. And again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hanging out with myself and Tanisha Laverne Grant, red carpet extraordinaire, award-winning journalist, diva, and all that other good stuff. Gorgeous Black woman. It's always an honor and a pleasure. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, love this like a hobby, but treat it like a business. And on that note, everyone have an absolutely amazing, amazing night. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See you on the next one.
Yes, ma'am. Take care.